Hello and welcome back to for the very first time to the channel. I am Will and today I'm going to be talking about my mid-month update for July. So talking about what I've read, what I intend to read, what I'm currently reading, some events and reactions to things that have happened so far during this month. And so I do monthly wrap-ups over on the Brothers Gwyn with my brother Ed. So I talk about at the end of the month how many books I've read that month and then what I intend to read the month after. And then over here I give a summary of kind of how that's been going so far in the mid-month update, hence where the title comes from. And so let's get right on into it. So far I've read 2 books and I aimed to read 9 in July, so I'm a little bit behind, but one of the books that I've read was quite a chunker, so yeah, you'll see that in a second. And I'm currently reading 2 others, obviously, and I'm very nearly finished with both of them, and so I'm a little bit more on track than it seems just from the stats and figures, but still a little bit behind. I need to get a bit of a move on, and so let's get right on into it. So what have I read so far? And the first one is, if I can pick it up, it's so big, Sons of Darkness by Gaurav Mohanty. This is a new release in July, and it is an epic fantasy tale, a new addition to kind of the epic fantasy subgenre. And this was, as I said, released in July. Had the pleasure of interviewing Gaurav with my brother Ed over on the Broken Binding account on Instagram a few weeks ago, and that was absolutely amazing. It's always an honour and a privilege to be able to pick the author's brains and ask them questions that we would love to hear the answers to, and as a reader that is just the dream, and we're lucky to be able to do that. And this was great. This is very dark, inspired by the Mahabharata, and so it's kind of very epic, and that is the longest epic poem ever, I believe, and so this is inspired by that. It's not a direct kind of accounting of the tales in the Mahabharata, but is inspired by that. It's got a very dark, grim focus, and Gaurav said that he wanted to kind of take it from the perspective of the kind of commonly known as antagonists when people recount the story. And so that's a very interesting dynamic right away, and he wanted to show the motivations and desires behind them, make them complex, so it's not evil people doing evil things for just to cause evil. They each have their own reasons behind it, and I love how these complex characters, these nuanced, unique characters come out of that. And yeah, the cover's amazing as well, and I highly recommend reading Sons of Darkness by Gaurav Mohanty. Very fluid prose, a lot of twists and turns. Love how the fantasy aspect is brought into this kind of historically embedded fantasy tale. And so yeah, great mix here of stuff that I love to read, and it's character driven, and I'm a character driven reader, as I'm sure you're bored of hearing. But the other book that I've read so far this month is Pet Sematary by Stephen King. Wow, this really took me by surprise, because when I thought I'll read this, all I thought was, this is the one with the weird cat, and that's basically all I knew. It's so yeah, that's all I know, and it's a gross injustice, really, that's just what Pet Sematary is known for, because this is a book with so much more depth. I was really taken aback in a good way by the depth of characterization, and this is probably the greatest study of kind of the human condition and examination of the human mind that I've seen by Stephen King. I've only read 6 or 7 works by him, but I absolutely adored that aspect here. Our main POV is Lou, and then we are following him and his family, his wife and his 2 children, as they move house to a relatively solitary area with a few neighbours and a road that goes by them, but usually it's quite empty. But nearby they are shown there is a pet cemetery where people who have lost an animal, often has been run over in the road next to them, to mourn, they go and they bury their animal in the pet cemetery for some closure. But that, obviously, with Stephen King, that's not going to be where it ends, is it? And so I won't go any further because that would be spoilers, but I love how this has horror aspects that you even feel tense when nothing bad has happened, but you just feel it kind of really building up. I was really kind of looking at it from quite an analytical perspective at times, because I thought this is masterful, and Stephen King, you can really see like the semantic field and kind of the techniques that he uses to build this tension. It's absolutely brilliant, and I think it's him at his best. But it's far more than that, because whilst we have that horror aspect and that tension building up, this also engages really heavily with the themes of loss, death, grief and family, and I really love how they are really forefront throughout the story, and they play key roles, and it really is kind of an exploration of the importance of those themes and the impact it has on people. And yeah, I absolutely love that in Pet Sematary, and it's going amongst my favourites by Stephen King. And then what am I currently reading? I'm currently reading Witch's Sin by Daniel Green, the king of booktube, as he's often known, the god Goblin himself. And so I read Breach Your Peace, his novella, a few years ago. Really enjoyed the ideas. I thought his prose needed work, but I really enjoyed the ideas and the characters. And it's great to see Witch's Sin that he has really worked on kind of his craft. It feels like that anyway. Full-size book this is, and it's kind of cyberpunk. It's kind of set in the future, and it took me a little while to get into that. It was a little bit jarring. I thought, just personally for me, it was a little bit much with all the detail to begin with, but within probably 20-30 pages I settled in, and it's been a really great read from then on. I know that one of Daniel Green's favourite authors and kind of stories is Sherlock Holmes. He's not the author obviously, but one of his favourite stories is the Sherlock Holmes tales, and I really see how kind of that influence has had a role on his writing here, because mystery is at the core, and I'm loving the mystery. He's very good at kind of leaving tantalising details that keep you hooked. And yeah, it's really great. Really enjoying it, and I'm near the end. And so yeah, looking forward to seeing where the rest of this book takes me. And then the other book I'm currently reading is Malice, as part of the read along that is over on the Brothers Gwyn and RJ Rees and Rekindled Readers channels. And so yeah, really enjoying this so far. First time I'm listening to the audiobook, so very interesting kind of hearing the voices of these characters that are so vivid in my mind, Papa Gwyn's characters. And so yeah, it's really interesting, and yeah, I'm really enjoying it. David Lynch is a great narrator. And yeah, really enjoying the reread. Please join us over on our Discord, and I'll be chatting more about the details a bit later in this video in the events section. But yeah, that is Malice, and I'm very nearly finished with that as well. Kind of blitzed through it the last few days. And what do I have next then? So I won't name all the books that I intend to read in July, but just the next two. So my next physical read will be The Prophet of Adan by Philip Chase, Dr. Fantasy himself. And I cannot wait. I really cannot wait to read this, because I loved The Way of Adan. So did my brother Ed, but he has read The Prophet of Adan before me, and he said this is such a big step up from The Way of Adan, that it is even better and even more entertaining and engaging. And he said particularly that it's probably more engaging with themes that we as readers, me and my brother particularly, are really engaged with, and those inspirations as well. And so I cannot wait to read The Prophet of Adan, be back with these characters, and also apparently some new key characters who are fantastic, and I've gone amongst Ed's favourite characters as well. And so yeah, really cannot wait to read The Prophet of Adan, and it will be my next physical read. And then my next Audible read will be a reread after rereading Malice, and that will be Red Rising by Pierce Brown. Lightbringer is coming out in about 10 days, I believe, and so I won't be reading Lightbringer as soon as it comes out, but I aim to read it within the next few months. But before that, I want to reread the original trilogy and then read Dark Age and Iron Gold for the first time, and so I cannot wait to do that. And I'm embarking on kind of the journey next up, because I'll be reading Red Rising as my next audiobook once I finished Malice, and then I should be reading Golden Sun and Morning Star in August, and maybe even Iron Gold then Dark Age and Lightbringer in September, hopefully, if the schedule keeps to plan. And so yeah, they are my next two reads, and so yeah, that's 6 books that I aim to read in July. I've got a few others, but I won't get into all of them, because these are just the definites that I'm talking about, the 100% that I'll get through all of these, because whilst I believe I will read more, there may be a few that I don't keep to the schedule. I know, sacrilege, but I'm quite a bit of a mood reader, and some other books have come to my attention throughout this month that I need to get to as well. And so yeah, I'll be talking about them at the end of the month, obviously, with my brother at the Brothers Gwyn monthly wrap up. But also I'm going to be doing some reviews on the channel soon as well. But before I leave, I've got some events to talk about. So as I mentioned earlier, there is a read along of The Faith and the Fallen. You can join us on the Brothers Gwyn Discord, and there is a channel specifically dedicated to chatting about this, or you can join on Rekindled Readers Discord channel as well. And if you've read these books before but you don't have time to fit them in again, please still join us and chat to us, because we're doing loads of questions like who's your favourite character, who's your favourite side character, who would win in a duel between these two, loads of fun stuff like that. And so it's not just about kind of going through the chapters and talking about them in depth, each one. We're really enjoying it. I'm really happy with how many people are involved, and yeah, we're having a great time on the Discord channels, and hopefully you join us there. And I'm absolutely loving listening to the audiobook of Malice for the first time. And this will be something going on the channel for the next few months. You're not behind. We're reading Malice in July, Valor in August, Ruin in September, and guess what? Wrath in October. Didn't need Sherlock to work that out. But yeah, so we're reading one a month, so you can still join in, and it doesn't matter if you're a week or so behind at all. We'll be doing chats on each channel at the end of each month, spoiler discussion of each book as well. So if you want to catch up and be able to join them, join the read along. That is the message of this mid-month update, basically. Join the read along. And then I had a collab video up on my channel about a week ago, I believe, when this comes out. And that was talking about some booktubers' favourite reads of 2023 so far. So I just want to say thank you again so much to all the booktubers who agreed to collab on that video and had the time and spent their time recording those videos and sending them to me. I really appreciate it, and it seems like people really enjoyed kind of hearing about those books, and a few people have picked up recommendations based on the book that the booktubers said was their favourite of the year so far. And so yeah, I aim to do quite a bit more kind of like that, some different stuff really on the channel over the coming months. And yeah, thank you so much again to the booktubers for that, and there'll be a link, well, it probably would have popped up already, where you can watch that if you haven't seen it already. And I want to talk about some trailers, and I'm going to do some shorts, or maybe they're already out, about each one. But Napoleon, the Napoleon trailer came out, directed by Ridley Scott, with Joaquin Phoenix as the main actor and Vanessa Kirby acting alongside him. Wow, this looks brilliant, and I'm not a Napoleon expert, and I believe that quite a few of the historical details are wrong, but I'm someone who, I love historical details and I love authenticity, but I don't need something to be authentic to enjoy a film. And so yeah, that doesn't really faze me, and I'm lucky that it doesn't, because I can still kind of think I'm going to love this. And so yeah, it looks fantastic, and I really cannot wait to watch Napoleon. It'll definitely be one I'm going to the cinema to watch. But if you are interested in seeing some kind of the historical details that may be wrong, definitely follow Dan Snow, who's a very famous historian on Instagram, because he gave a great talk about, he said he's still going to love the film and watch it, but here's just some historical details that are wrong, just for people to know. And the other one is the Winter King trailer came out. I'm just confused about this one. So The Winter King is one of my favourite trilogies of all time. It's book one of a trilogy called The Warlord Chronicles, and it's an Arthurian retelling by Bernard Cornwell. And it's very different in the sense that Dervahl is the main character, and he's a very minor Arthurian character who's kind of been abandoned from the retellings about a millennia ago. But Bernard Cornwell brought him back. And so what confuses me with the Winter King trailer is that it's not actually the Winter King. There was probably one thing that I could say, oh, that's in the book. Because it's following Arthur, who's not a perspective in the books. And Arthur isn't in a good amount of book one of The Winter King. And it seems like the trailers, it takes place before The Winter King started, and Dervahl didn't even see him in it. I'm just confused. And so I am upset. I'm very upset. I'm still going to watch it, because obviously trailers don't convey 100% honesty and authenticity of what the program is, and maybe, I don't know, maybe it just conveyed the wrong message, but I'm just confused really. And yeah, I'm not commenting on even the story. It's just like, yeah, on terms of quality, it's just I'm confused why they would buy rights for The Winter King and then not do that story. It's confusing. But anyway, yes, that's a short reaction to some trailers. But anyway, everyone, thank you so much for watching. Let me know what some of your favourite trailers of the last month have been. Let me know what some of your favourite reads of the last month have been. How's your July reading going so far? What are your next few reads planned? And will you be joining the Faith and the Fallen read along? Please let me know if you do. And yeah, there'll be links to the Discords in the description below. Everyone, thank you so much for watching. Stay safe.